All right, another episode of the Sap Powers podcast today with a good buddy of mine, fellow comedian Liam Kelly. Everybody.
I don't know about this good buddy and friend thing. Sab.
Well, I mean, like we're not like
Every
tight,
time I
tight.
see
We're
you,
not best friends, but
I see you from the stage. I'm like, "What's your name, man?" I've asked you from the stage like 3 times. What's your name is,
oh,
right? You know
geez.
that.
Okay, I'll edit that out. Well, I won't actually because I suck at
Why
tech.
would you edit that out? This is the best part. This is it. I peaked 1 minute in, and now I'm just gonna go away.
Uh,
Sab, is your real name Sabrino? Tell me the truth. Is that what that's a short form?
am I just gonna get bullied for a bit now? Is it? Ah.
Did you ask me?
Um,
You know who you asked on the show, didn't you? Like, what did you think you were getting?
Yeah, good buddy and fellow comedian.
If you didn't think your balls were going to be busted, what are you new?
You-
I've been cooped up for 9-10 weeks, pal. You're getting it all. That's it. It's going to be nothing but grinding your gears for as long as you'll have me, and then that's it. You'll be like, God, I hate that guy. Anyway, what's up, man?
Good man, good. I just did a podcast with fucking Jeff Leeson. It was dope. Yeah, and
How's Leeson doing? It
pardon?
was his birthday the other day. How's Leeson doing? It was his birthday the other day.
Oh shit, I didn't know it was his birthday. I would have wished my birthday, but I didn't. But he's good. He's got a special coming out on Dry Bar Comedy, which is crazy. Um, that's so fucking cool. But yeah, the reason I brought it up is just like you guys both do crowd work. Did you find like any inspiration or anything from him, from Jeff? Did you take any like? You've seen him do shows, right?
Yeah, listen, man. I'm one of these. Like, there's me. There's Lars Classington. There's Al Val. We were all sort of. Ty Wright is now the current dude who does all the road shows and opens for Jeff. Like, so I opened for Jeff a million times, and he headlined my room a bunch. We spent a lot of really good time together. Yeah, you know what it is. Here's the thing: is not really is my answer. Like, because here's the thing:
Mhm.
is I'm old enough that I saw like Mike Bullard at Yucks back in the day. You know, like back when Mike was coming up as the best crowd worker in Canada, and eventually got a TV show called Open Mike, the only talk show produced in Canada. You know, late night talk show. So I mean, I saw Bullard, and if you had to ask Jeff, Jeff would say the same thing. Bullard was his hero. Like, he's the guy that sort of blazed the trail in Canada for people trying to do crowd work. Now, I
Mhm.
think Jeff and I do crowd work differently. Although I definitely was always inspired by him because he's fearless, right? So when we'd be on the road together, and you know, he was fully into doing crowd work only by the time we started hanging out, and I was still doing a lot of material, you know. And I got away from material with the help of just watching Jeff every night go like, I don't really care. I'm gonna do what I do, and if it fails, it fails. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so that part I was inspired by. But I was really inspired, actually. It was. Do you want to hear the whole boring story, or?
Yeah, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah. So
Let's
here's what it
go.
was. I was backstage or whatever, just waiting to go on at a show one night, and Alex Pavone was headlining. I don't know if you ever heard of Alex Pavone. He's in New York now. He's a really funny guy, young Italian kid from Woodbridge. And Pavone and I are just pacing this bar, this humongous bar, watching CFL football and listening to 3 or 4 comics bomb in an empty room. You know, one of those classic gigs, right? So we're just sort of pacing and not really talking to each other. But I observed all these things about this room, and I had all these thoughts. I was like, oh, this club, this bar has this thing on the wall. I had like 15 really funny things in my head, right? I go up on stage and I just do my lame 10, 15 minutes of like, hey, here's my jokes I think are funny, which I never thought were funny. And then Pavone goes up and says everything I'd thought of. You know, he said everything. He'd observed the same things. We'd observed the same things, but he had the courage to say them on stage,
Mhm.
as opposed to going up there going, "Well, here's my thoughts about growing up in Woodbridge," you know. And I was like, I wasn't upset, obviously, because he didn't know we'd had the same thoughts. He probably, of course, he doesn't even know this existed. This moment in my life, he's a part of it, but he doesn't even know that, right? Because
Mhm.
it didn't involve him, you know. But I just said to myself, I wanted to go up there and say all those things, but I didn't have the guts to do it, and he had the guts to do it, and he killed in an
Yeah.
empty room. The CFL still playing with the volume on. Like, it was just one of these disasters, you know.
Hmm.
And I was like, you know, that's where I started to go, I am not being true to myself, because I'm not saying what I really feel and think. And I think people really like part of the why I have people who like me is I do say what I really feel and think. And I hope I say it truly, you know, funny, but I also truly say it with love and affection too. Like, I mean, I know I busted your balls off the top, you know, but you know how I feel, and that's the point, right? That's why it works, because everyone gets that, you know. They get that
Mhm.
that's just a gag. This guy's just being a goof, you know.
Mhm. Well, I'm sure you run into someone every once in a while that doesn't get it, right?
Well, yeah, but that's on me. You know, it's on me if they don't get it. It's my fault. I didn't do it right because, and I've had those moments where I didn't do it right, and I did hurt people's feelings. I did upset people, but that was definitely in my tone. I took the wrong tact. I could see in their face, like I see them, right? I see people. I'm not just talking into a void, right? I'm really looking at you, and I'll see, you know, this guy. I'll see a shake of a head, look in an eye, going, I don't want this. I don't like this. And if I keep going, that's my bad. I shouldn't do that, right? And I've definitely moved on, buddy. I trust me. I've said, "Hey, man, look at the shirt on you," and the guy just gives me this look like I'd rather you beat me up than say anything, right? And I get that, and I just move on, and off we go, and la la la. That guy, he's happy because he didn't get talked to, and he didn't want it, and that's cool with me. You know what I mean? So, but I've definitely screwed up, and I don't like it. It makes me feel bad, but you know, I can't get too upset about it, Sab. You know, like you know, we don't. None
Mhm.
of us bat 1,000, right? not even not even Jeff. He's pretty close, but he doesn't bat 1,000, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, man, like I've never seen him bomb. But like he
I
only
have.
does like big shows now, right? Yeah.
And that's the funny part, and I'm sure he'd laugh hearing that because you know, I'm one of the few people who've heard him do jokes like material.
Mhm.
There was like one night up in Owen Sound, the crowd was like, "We are not talking to you. We are not talking to you. We'll not answer a question. We're not going to do a darn thing." And Jeff was like, "All right." He just went into jokes. I was like, "Did I just hear material? That's incredible." And we left that town laughing our asses off. Like, well, that's sometimes you have to have it. That's actually why I still have it. That was my lesson to me, is to keep some material that I have. I mean, you've seen me do
Mhm.
lots and lots of crowd work. You've also seen me do jokes. You know I have jokes, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't necessarily go for them first. I have them if I want them. That's how I look at my jokes. Like,
Mhm.
if I think I need it here, or sometimes a crowd work will naturally go towards a point, and I can throw in one of my jokes, and it works great because it's been spontaneous up to that, and it still looks spontaneous because they believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got this great joke about dick pics that I like.
Yeah, I like that joke. Although, you know, I think I have to retire it because I think I heard someone basically do a similar thing. You know,
Oh,
the other
well,
day.
fuck them.
So
They
and
stole
that's
your
okay.
shit. Then you can't
There's no
retire a
such
joke
thing.
because someone's. Well, then,
Ah,
so I'm just gonna do all your jokes. Then and you'll have to
okay,
retire them all.
okay. Sure, whatever you want, Sab. I've taken up the ukulele too, so just so you know,
Oh
because let's
no.
face it, I look like I should be able to wear a bow tie and play the ukulele. These are two things that this face affords me that I should be able to
Mhm.
do. I write all sorts of songs. I swear I never get texts. There's like 50 coming in, buddy. 50.
Jeez.
They're all asking, "Where are you? What's going on? Why, Sab? I swear." Anyway, how are you? How
Huh.
you been doing, by the way? What have you
I
been
mean,
up to? You been working? You home? Like,
no, I don't work or nothing. I just podcast every day. Tons.
and this is why I had to wait a week to get on. So you had
Yeah,
like a
buddy.
week's worth of people more important than me.
Yeah, I
Oh,
do like
fuck.
I try to do like a couple a day just in case like people cancel, and then I release like one a day. Then I'll stack them up, and then once Corona's over, so this will get released in like a week and a half, I want to say.
So I have time to backtrack and call you back and be like, "Look, I don't want that released."
Well, no, I'm gonna release it. No, I mean
Look,
if
I
you
didn't like
really
what I
said
said.
you,
Yeah, I need to refocus this. Oh my
no, if you
god.
really said that, I wouldn't release it, but no, it hasn't happened yet, but maybe. I've talked to a lot of people, man. It's weird. Like you never really have like a deep conversation with someone, in
Yeah,
regular
you're right.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that shows it's hard, right? Because sometimes people are focusing. Sometimes I don't mind having good conversations at a show, but the problem is sometimes people want to have them loudly at the back of the room
Right.
as other people are performing. And like, would you just shut up? But I've had some really great ones in the lobby or outside where you're like, all right, good. But then again, the other thing, sometimes people are trying to be on all night, and you're like, oh yeah, I get it, hilarious. You know, like,
Right.
so it's a
Yeah.
bit
So
hard to have. You know what? This is what we're doing here is a lot like when you go on the road with somebody, right? Where you get to be 3 hours in the car and you're staring
mm,
forward as you drive into the bush. What else do you have to do but talk comedy or talk shit about each other, you know? So or other people. That's the way it's
that's interesting. I like that analogy better because I was saying that it was like having a smoke outside, but having a smoke outside, it's only like 10 minutes or something. This is a
No,
lot more like being in the
Yeah.
car or whatever, and having a smoke outside. Sometimes you deal with people that just suck that you don't like, and it's like some weird fucking assholes like talking
Yeah.
your ear off, and you're like, fuck, I just want to enjoy this cigarette.
Yeah. The good news is, I think as you get older, you just learn to walk away, and no one
Mm.
questions you. They're like, oh, there goes Liam. It's like, I'm only walking away because that guy's super annoying, and I don't want to talk to him. So, but you're
Yeah,
like, you still feel like you have to make people happy. I'm like, I don't care anymore. That guy
yeah.
doesn't like me because I walked away. We're good. And frankly, maybe he should ask me, hey, why'd you walk away? And I could say, because you're really annoying, and no one likes you. Not you, Sam, but the person, you know what I mean? Because I would, by the way, I've done that because I don't care anymore. I care, but I don't care, right? Like the other thing too is, and you're learning this. You've been around comedy now for over a year. How long now? Like what's
Like
your?
4 or 5 years, I
Yeah,
think, something
okay.
like
So
that.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean. I don't, I don't have a calendar, buddy. But as
It's
you
all good.
noticed,
I'm only a year's worth of funny, okay? So I
all right.
respect. I
Well,
would.
don't be so sure of that. That says you. Anyway,
Okay,
again, what did
3
you expect?
months.
No, but as you're saying, it's a war of attrition. Like people come and go too, right? So I'm sure
Mhm.
there's 50 people that you met 3 years ago that haven't done comedy since then, right? So I mean, sometimes that's it too. Is you're just like, that this guy, this is his third gig, and he's outside having a smoke, and he's trying to be the funniest guy, and learn all the tricks of the trade in one night, and you're just like, get away from me. In 2 weeks, you're gonna be back, doing nothing, and living in your parents' basement. So go away. You know what I mean? So like that happens too, right? Where you're like, ugh, people. This is better. Exactly. You almost never go on the road with someone you don't like, because basically, usually when you're going on the road, one person asks the other. You know what I mean? It's usually,
Right.
hey man, I got an opening spot. Want to go? Yeah, okay, great. Or hey, I'm headlining. Can you come with me? And so
Mhm.
usually you pick someone you like too, which is nice. So you know.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been like, "Hey, you want to go on the road with someone?" That I'm like, "Go fuck this guy." Like, why would you ever do that? It makes no sense.
Yeah. If
So it's
anything, what's funny in comedy is to see the two guys who roll up together and you go, "Oh, that makes sense that you two are friends." Like
yeah, yeah.
this guy who has all the abortion jokes, and that guy who does the good. I have the hooker in the trunk jokes, and they ride together, and amazingly, who knew? Who knew those guys would be friends off stage? This is incredible. I wonder what that conversation was like. Probably not full of misogyny, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, dear
That's funny, man. Goddamn.
me. Yeah.
Have you ever done any podcasts before? Have you had your own podcast or anything like that?
No, I don't. This is the second podcast I've ever done. I think I don't. You know what? I don't. I'm having fun here, right? But this is not my thing. I used to be a radio announcer, right, for years and years and years. I did like
Oh shit.
25 years off and on in radio, right? So like, I'm used to talking on a mic, and I'm used to talking on a mic in front of people. So sometimes this just ends up, talking on a podcast. I've never found it super rewarding. I don't get that reward. Like in a radio station, you go, "Hey, call this number because I'll play your song," and 50 people call, right? And at a comedy club, you say something funny and 50 people laugh. It's very rewarding. Sometimes here, you're like, okay, this has been fun. Like I'm not trying to put this down, but it's just not the kind of thing. And especially, sitting in a room and not pressing the buttons. I like pressing buttons. And when you're working on a radio station, you're pressing all the buttons and pressing the song, and you're getting to talk over shit. And you're like, yeah, here we go. Yeah, here I'm just sitting on my couch feeling fat. This is really all I'm feeling right now, which reminds me I should go for a walk as soon as this is done. I like that you're drinking beer while we're talking. That makes me happy. That's.
Is
I was
that
thinking,
okay? You
should
don't
I?
mind?
You're of legal drinking age, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And if not, you've got the beard. I mean, really, who's going to question you? If you had that beard and you were 12, I'd let you drink. I'd be like, well, he's a man. That's it.
I'm 29, buddy. I got a baby face like you.
Yeah, I'm
Not
29.
quite as baby face. Like I
Oh,
got,
yeah.
I have a
I
baby
shaved for
face.
you,
You
just so
have
you
a
know.
baby's face.
I've been harvesting them for years. I get the stem cells. I grow them myself now in my hothouse. I've been growing feti so that I can have the proper skin on my face. This turned strange and disgusting. One of my
And
favorite
you grow a
conversations I
beard?
ever. Oh
Okay,
God,
go
no,
ahead.
no, no. Although I did shave today, honestly, because my hair was the same length on my head as it was on my face.
Oh
And
wow,
oh yeah, but we're getting Jesus and Mary in the shot here. There we go.
nice, love it.
Yeah, this has been hanging in my house, my parents' house here, for a gajillion years. So there you
Mm.
go. It didn't help anybody, by the way.
I had one religious subscriber that was yelling at me for swearing in the live chat one time, and yeah, that was it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by the people who worry so much about the word fuck or something. It's like, what are you so worried about? Like, how about treat people nicely? How about you, you know, how about you
Right.
buy something for the homeless or something instead of worrying about me saying fuck? It's okay. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm amazed at people. I'm always amazed. I'm like, okay. And I'm
Yeah.
always amazed at shows, where they're like, no swearing. You're like, okay,
Hmm.
I don't like anything before a show that says no anything. You know what I mean by that? Like I
Yeah, I don't
hate.
like
There's
that
nothing
either.
worse than before you're going on. Like, no saying, no talking about this. You're like, okay, don't do
Correct.
that to me, man. Tell
Especially
me
like
that when you
right
book
before you
me,
go
or
on. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
If it's like either make it clear from the beginning or just do
Like I
anything
got
else.
offered a show, and I'll say who it is because he's a great guy and everything. But Jack Skorhod, who's out in Oshawa, he's doing a sensory friendly show for autism,
Hmm.
and he wanted me on the show, which is very nice of him. But they had rules, and I'm okay with that too. Like I'm not trying to be critical, but I know when I go up on stage, if I have to consider rules or think of things that I'm not to do, I'll screw it up. I'll do it, and I know I will. And I'm not. That's not an insult. And I would be screwing up the show by breaking the rules, so I didn't do it. And I think he
Hmm.
was a little like, really? And I was like, wow, trust me. I know myself as a good performer. I know that the minute it's like that. Ever see the Faulty Towers? Ever watch Faulty Towers, the TV show?
No.
Faulty Towers was made by John Cleese after Monty Python broke up, and he did this little 13 episodes of one of the funniest sitcoms you'll ever see called Faulty Towers. In one of them, they have German people coming to stay in England at this little hotel that he runs, and he just don't mention the war, like as in it would be really insulting to bring up World War II to these people, and he gets so obsessed with not mentioning the war that all he can say is the war, right? Everything
Yeah,
he
yeah.
says is about Hitler or Himmler or Goering or
Mhm.
Goebbels, and he's screwing up so much, and the comedy's hysterical about that. But I think it's a very truism of comedy. Like the minute you tell me
Mhm.
don't say the F word, I'm gonna go out there and drop 50 F bombs because I'm not trying to. It's just you can't do it. So on that particular show, the rule one was don't talk to the audience. And I think as you've seen me before, I would never do comedy without being able to talk to the audience. I wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
Even if I don't do crowd work, I want to at least say hi and how you guys doing and that kind of stuff. So sometimes I think when rules and stuff like that. Especially when someone tells you, at least in this case, I was told before the gig, and I said, no, thank you. I'd rather not do it. Nothing personal, which it wasn't. So
Yeah, I kind of feel like the same way, but I also just like want to like learn those skills because I know that like people like that's like it's good to I guess have that under your belt to be able to like be a clean comedian.
yeah,
Um,
okay. But here's the obvious question, Sab. What's the best way to to have a clean set? Is to never, like just listen. As you've seen me a lot too, I swear a bit, but it's not the
mhm.
crux of what I do. I can do without it. If I
Right.
have to, if I do the whole show without saying a swear word, it's not uncommon. But it's because I'm not going out in the clubs doing it other ways. Like I'm not doing other shows where I'm dropping F bomb after F bomb,
Mhm.
right? And I think it's just some point, and I think David does this too, David Green, mostly. Like it's just easier. It's easier to you get more bookings when you don't swear a lot, and when you rely on a swear word as your punchline, that's fine. But I mean, there's got to be a different way to do it. I think.
Yeah, fuck, I guess I swear like a lot. I was thinking about it. Like maybe like a lot of my punchlines are swear words, you know? Like,
Yeah, and
I
they're
say the
not
word cunt or
necessarily
something, everyone laughs.
necessary. You know what I mean? Like, but that's as you're getting older at this you can look back, you can look at it now and go, oh, yeah, I don't have to say it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I could, or, like I had a joke there where the punchline was basically something fuck or fuck something, and I was like, I can do better. I can do better. And
Mm,
you know, here's another thing I'll say about jokes and your material and stuff, not yours necessarily, Seth, but people's material, is like, we hold on to it so tightly as if it's the greatest thing in the world, and it's like there's better in you. Like I've seen you, you're good. There's more to come, and that's the good thing, isn't it? Like, but what a lot of people do is they
mhm.
polish up that 5 to 10 or 20 minutes they got, and that's all they're ever gonna do. And it's like, that's the big mistake, you know what I mean? They polish up a turd, as I call it, you know. They have a
Right.
turd and they're like, oh, now it's smooth and glassy and I can deliver it really well. Yeah, it still stinks. I mean, who cares, right? It's still a turd. So, you know, and I think people get way too enamored with their own jokes and their own material, you know. And I think, for
Right.
example, Bob Dylan, the great Bob Dylan, who wrote all the greatest songs in the world, says it's just a song, man. It's not set in stone. Like, do what you
Hmm.
want with it, you know. And I think that's the way we should be with jokes. Like, it's just a joke. There's a million more, and find better ones, you know. Like, find
Hmm.
better ones.
Yeah, and
But
like a lot of people do that. Like they got like 5, 10, 15 minutes that they just do over and over and over again. Um, where it's like
yeah,
if you want that hour on Netflix, you gotta have that hour. So you could literally have so many 5 minutes that you should keep coming up with new
mhm.
stuff. Try to keep evolving and growing. I had that problem even. Like I would keep doing the same jokes over and over again a lot. And when I finally decided to write or try new shit, um, it turned out to be some of my favorite stuff. And like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it was like I should have been doing this the whole time. I wasted so much time telling the same stupid old jokes that would get
Well,
laughs, but like, you know what I mean? I knew they would get laughs, and that's why I would tell them.
so it's comfortable. It's comfortable to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that because you're getting the laughs, which is what you want. It's uncomfortable to go up there and maybe not get laughs.
right.
And that's where people fear things like what I do or Jeff does, where I don't know I'm going to get laughs when I go up there necessarily. Now I'm confident that I'm going to, and I do, but I don't necessarily go, well, I have this big topper and I'm going to tell this one story that always kills every time. I don't, you know what I mean? I'd rather not. Like,
Mhm.
what's much more exciting because comedy isn't safe. It should be unsafe. It's the craziest thing. It's a really, really stupid thing to do. Like, you literally go up in front of a group of strangers all by yourself and try to make them laugh. It's insane. I mean, that is one of the craziest things you could tell a human to do. Like, you know, think about that. Like, you know, yeah, here's 100 people drunk at the Legion. By the way, you're gonna go up there and you have 20 minutes to talk to them, and it better be funny. It's ridiculous. It's the dumbest thing, you
Yeah.
know. And yeah, I think some people fear that, and they fear failure, and it's like you can't fear failure in this. You have to embrace it, and embrace, you know, the newness of it and the rawness of it. You know, like, and I think what happens, Sab, is everyone tells everyone, oh, you write 5 minutes, and you polish it up, and you write 5 more minutes, and you polish that up, blah blah blah. It's like, who says? Who says? I mean, I have
Mm.
material from my past that's all polished up that was shit, and who cares? Like, it was smooth and it was still shit. So who cares? So what did I do? I polished up some turds, right? As I said earlier. And I don't want to polish up turds anymore. I'd rather have a loose, weird, funny bit that works every time that I can do something with than this well polished turd that gets mild laughs. Right?
Mhm.
You
Damn,
know,
that's
like
so
even
well put. Actually, fuck, goddamn. There's a lot of
yeah.
people that need to hear that, and I hope at least one of them does.
Well, I hope so, Sab, and I hope that helps. But I think the problem is too and you, I think and I've seen you evolve because yes, I mean, when you knew you could go up there and get this laugh, this, that, and this laugh, well, that's very safe. A lot of people feel really good about that.
Mhm.
And okay, if that's all you want out of this, good for you. That's what you have. But I think if you want to be a professional and a successful comedian, you have to be trying new things and pushing boundaries and growing and evolving and feeling unsafe. Like, not as in like you're gonna get beaten up, but feeling like, wow, this is scary. This could not work. And boy, that usually pushes people into doing something better, right?
Mhm.
I used to like to use a lot of music analogies. And I think what happens is people write their, Love, Love Me Do, by the Beatles, and that they're happy just to play Love, Love Me Do the rest of their lives. And I'm like, well, that's what you want, but evolve. You should get into
Mhm.
Revolver and Rubber Soul and Sergeant Pepper. This stuff's interesting. You gotta grow. I don't see a lot of it. I see a lot of people who are very happy being mediocre, middling to opening comedians. It's like, okay, more for me.
Yeah, and I think those people probably eventually quit, right? Because it becomes boring just doing the same thing over and over again. Like,
Yeah, they quit or they just do the same thing over and over again forever. I mean, like, let's face it.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
known I've known some people for 10 years. I know every joke they do. I could tell them to you right now. I could predict their set before I show up. And yeah, they've been doing it for 10 years. If that's what they want, go for it. Whatever. I mean, that's cool too. But I just think that that some of those people do say to me, "Hey, how come I never get these bookings?" And that's where you can say, "Well, because you've done the same thing for 10 years, and you know, people heard it. People heard it, man. Joke's been done."
Mm-hmm.
You know,
How long have you been doing comedy for?
that's a loaded question. I've been doing comedy. I did stand up when I was in grade 8, I think. Once I tried it in my church basement for a talent night, and the principal, who knew I was a shit disturber, made me vet all my material to him before going on, which may also maybe give an aversion to material, right? Is that when you have to stand in front of your principal like at 2 p.m. and read them off a piece of paper to him while he goes, I don't think that's funny. That's really encouraging. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, great, thanks, Mr. McAlpine. Appreciate that. I don't think that's funny. Good, good. Well, I should be great when I go out there. So I tried it, and then I never tried it again. And then at Ryerson, I did a sketch troupe called Riot. I went to Radio and Television Arts at Ryerson, and the Riot's like sort of the Harvard Lampoon, it's one of the better things in Toronto for like Hart House at a theater at U of T, but Riot at Ryerson is the sketch troupe, and lots of really good performers came out of that. And I did that, where I wrote a lot and performed a lot of sketch. So I did sketch for like 10 years in the 90s, like all through the 90s. I was a sketch and improv guy. I
Mm-hmm.
did Second City. I did I was an understudy for the touring company, and I did improv. And then basically, I've tried stand up a bunch of times, and then like about 12 years ago in Nova Scotia, I started going weekly to do it. And then when I moved back to Ontario, started really working hard. So like I've been really working hard at comedy for 10 years, I would say. Like stand up, I've been working hard at stand up for 10 years. That's what I would say.
That's awesome, man.
You know.
Like a lot of people like say like the 10-year mark is like when you're like gonna keep going for life, right? If you do
I
it
think
10
that's
years.
I think it's really true, Sab. Like it takes you 7 to 8, 10 years to really figure out what it is you want to do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like even yeah, where you find your like the old find your voice thing. You know what I mean? Like whatever that voice is. Like it really took me, I would say 7, 8 years before I really felt like, okay, this is who I am when I'm up there. And not just, this is what I like to do, and this is how I want to do it. Whereas, yeah, I think everything else is just growing. So yeah, I'd say this is kind of why I keep a low profile in life too, right? Like I don't have any like a lot of YouTube videos. I don't do a lot of this stuff because um like I have another year, like I have children, and
Mm-hmm.
basically in another year it'll be time for them to leave the house, or at least where I can go away without worrying, right? Like they'll be 18 years old, and I'm like, okay, that's a time when if I need to go to Montreal or I need to go to Winnipeg to do something, I can do it without worrying about babysitters or worrying about safety and security kind of thing. So I've kind of wanted to present myself at some point, like kind of have this sort of you know uh, release party of myself. You know what I mean? Because I've kept this really low profile, and then I'd like to say that when I release what it is I do, it's a fully formed product, as opposed to a 20-year-old who sucks for 2 years or 3 years, and everyone remembers that. And then he gets okay, and then you know what I mean. Then he's 29, he's doing a sad podcast 2 times a day while drinking copious amounts of Coors Banquet. Whatever. I'm just picking random thoughts. There's nothing personal here at all. Uh, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like
Yeah.
there's like I don't have youth on my side, right? I don't have some of these things. So what do I have? Well, I think I can sort of present it as one real package as opposed to seeing bits and pieces of it good and bits and pieces of it bad. So
What is your dream, man? What do you want? Like a Netflix special?
I've had, here's the thing: is you're talking to a guy who's like 20 years older than you, so dreams change. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I was really honest, I really wanted to do Second City main stage back in the day. Really proud of and jealous of Alan Shane Lewis, who's a great comedian in Toronto, who's got that. He deserves it, so I am obviously, but I mean, just so that's what I wanted. Like that Second City main stage would have been sort of the greatest goal I could have had. I didn't get there, and that was too bad. Because I think that's like, listen, the true story is like that's how people get to SNL, for example. Like they raid the stages of Toronto and Chicago Second City main stages and the Groundlings main stages, and that's where they find the next cast. And so the path to SNL or something like that was through
Mm-hmm.
Second City, especially in my day, and that's really what I wanted. And then when I started stand up, I mean, I started as a parent of twins, right? So you have different perspective on life. Like, what do you want to do? I mean, I would like to do Just for Laughs in Montreal, like the real festival, like the main one, the big festival. That would be really
Hmm.
fun to do. But and I've done some good job of just making a living, as a comedian. And I think my goals have changed. Like I'd really like to make a living, for the next 20 years if I can, as a comedian. And that may sound like a really small goal, but actually I think in Canada that's a gigantic goal. Like there's gonna be a lot of
Yeah.
comedians out there, a lot of comedians out there laughing at me, going, "It's not really possible to make a living for the next 20 years as a comedian." In some ways, that's true, unless you get a Netflix special. So that's a challenge, and I'm trying to figure that out in my head business-wise. How do I translate what I do into a feasible way to make money for the next 20 years? And so that's my goal now, right?
Hmm.
Which is totally different. And if that includes getting a Netflix special, sure, I guess. But I'll tell you, Sam, I don't like these, and I know some of the guys on them, right? Like I know Kate Trevor Wilson, and I know Dave Merhaj, and I know some of these guys. I've seen them live. I've worked with them, and I don't like the way uh, television does stand-up comedy. I don't think they do a good job of it. Did you
Well,
see?
go ahead.
Yeah, like even like Jerry Seinfeld's latest, the whole 23 Hours to Kill or whatever. Like, I just don't think it translates. It doesn't capture what we feel. Like when we're in the back of the room, man, and someone's up there really killing, it doesn't. None of that is captured. You know what I mean? I don't get that
Hmm.
from any of these specials. Like, okay, and let's go back to Jeff Leeson, who we both can agree is really gifted and really brilliant. Um,
Hmm.
he's figuring it out, which is because he's really smart. But he's figuring out how to film what it is he does and how to then sell that. Because if you just point the cameras and point them here, here, and here, it just doesn't translate, and you don't catch that magic. Um, and then the other thing too is I think with most television specials, yeah, like you have to do them twice in a night, and they have to have this continuity, and you stop mid joke while they, mop your eyebrow because it's sweating and like all that. That's like garbage. That's not what we do. If I'm sweating my ass off, I'd like the camera to pick that up. Like I'd like to go, that guy's really sweating up there. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
working my ass off up here.
Hmm.
Like so's a base. No one stops a baseball player in the mid game. Go, oh, you have too much sweat in your face. Like who cares? Like we're
Hmm.
working. I'm working up here. So you know, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way better way. And I think Jeff will probably. I've seen a lot of what Jeff's done, and I worked on Jeff's first TV special. The first time he tried to tape a special, I was one of the acts on the show. Me and Josh Elijah and Al, I think Al Val, and we. It just I was in the audience. I could tell it wasn't it wasn't capturing. It wasn't going to capture what he does, it's a magic show in a way, right? Like um, there's a way to film it, and there's a way not to. And I just find like Netflix and those and Just for Laughs and stuff. They just I don't know. It's boring. It doesn't capture it anyway.
Hmm. You should put your stuff on YouTube, I think.
I have two really really good tapes of what I did, two shows in the fall, to full houses, like full houses,
Hmm.
and those are those are waiting. Like I'm gonna put some titles on it and maybe edit them into smaller bits and stuff like that. But there's a lot. It's about 45 minutes, two different shows, and virtually no jokes repeated. So they're both really, really sharp. But I'd rather put one or two of those out, or 10 minutes of that, because I'll give you a real good reason, Sab. And I don't mind using people's names. I don't think they'd be bothered by this. But I don't know. Do you know Ron Jossel, the comedian? He's
No.
a great, great Filipino Canadian comedian out of Toronto. He's 30 years in at this point, or 25. Like Ron's been doing it
Oh,
a long,
wow.
long time. Super talented, super, super funny. And he works with Russell Peters a lot. He opens for him a lot, and just a really great guy. And I got to know Ron a little bit. And one night he's doing a show in Richmond Hill at the Fox and Fiddle, and he's going through his best stuff, and he's getting nothing, nothing. And I'm shocked. I'm like, looking at these people going, what is wrong with you? This is one of the best comedians around. And Ron goes, hey, my applause. How many of you guys have seen my stuff on YouTube? And the crowd erupts. And he goes, okay, well, I guess I got to do something different then. And then,
Huh.
you know, I thought,
Yeah.
that's too bad. Like, this shit kills. And now they're like, yeah, anyway, what else do you got? We've seen it, you know? And I
Right.
thought, that's a real shame. Like, I think people give away a lot on YouTube that, keep that in your back pocket, man, for when people are paying you. Because
But
I'm
if you're
telling you,
getting
like,
that many people watching you, and he has that many views on the YouTube video, I feel like that's worth it. And then you could just come up with some new stuff, anyways. And someone like you that has tons of new stuff, like that shouldn't be a problem, right? You're just always coming up with new stuff, anyways. You're doing crowd work, or you could even post like you could just film all your sets and then only post the little bits of like crowd work.
yeah,
That
see,
would just
that's a
bash
great
it
idea.
over with.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
that's
That
a
would
great, and
never
that's I think
happen
what
again.
I think that's what Jeff's doing now. Like, I think, and he's doing that now, where he's releasing a 3-minute chunk of him talking to a guy about this, and that's a really smart, again, a
Right.
really smart way to do it. Because again, sometimes the whole thing just doesn't translate, and or it doesn't, the vibe is missed.
Hmm.
Anyway, anyway, like I'll tell you, man. Like sometimes I think I'd like to tape my special in front of 5 people. You know what I mean? Like
Really?
one thing. Well, I think one of my best attributes as a comedian is that I'm really good with a small crowd. Like, there's a lot of people. If you go up there with 5 people, they suck
Yeah.
under no on every circumstances. No matter. And I'm like 5 people, sure, great, whatever.
Hmm.
Like in some ways, five is better is as good as 500 in a way. If those five are willing to have fun, and like so I kind of had that idea to do an anti special where you tape your whole thing at, like, remember that room you and I did once for Dave Green, Club 55
Yeah.
in Niagara on the Lake, and there was a
Yeah.
table of four and a
Hmm.
one guy by himself. That's 5 people, and I did
Hmm.
great for like 20 minutes, right? Like, and I thought, like, I would like to have filmed that and let people see that. Like, I think it's funny to do really well in front of 5 people, and I think it's the opposite of what everyone else is doing. When everyone else is going one way, I'd like to go the other. Zig when people are zagging, right? So
Yeah, that would be awesome because it's different, right? And you
yeah,
can do well. Like I think you might be onto something there. I
well,
think
I'm
you
on
should do
something.
that. I think you should definitely do that. And like you could pull it off. Like I couldn't do something like that. It's got to be you that does that. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's kind of also why it might be fun to do, because I think it is something that I do. Like, I don't think I do things better than a lot of people. I'm not trying to brag. I don't think so. But that's one of the things I think I've played a
Hmm.
lot of these rooms to 5 people. I've seen people die, 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 die. I kill, die, die. And I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
well, that's obviously a skill I have that others don't have. So why not
Right.
exploit that? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I don't know. I always thought it'd be kind of funny if your whole album was put together, your whole thing, or
Hmm.
these little tiny rooms we play on a Tuesday night in front of 5 people. In a way, that would be really, if as long as people are laughing and the jokes are funny, I don't
Yeah,
think it really matters.
I think maybe some of the comedians' problem is that they give up once they see there's 5 people. You know what I mean? They don't put the full effort in because they're like, oh, it's only 5 people, and
That
they
is one of
kind
the
of give
biggest
up before they even
mistakes.
start.
It's the biggest mistake, and I see pros do it. Pros who've been in the business for 30 years. I see
Mm.
guys who are on their second set do it. I think it's the biggest mistake in the world. Um, those 5 people are the coolest 5 people in town because they actually got off their story fat asses and they dragged their butts into Club 55 and they ordered some nachos and they ordered some beers. Like thank God for those people. And like, I'd rather give them as good a show as humanly possible because
Yeah,
without them, literally, we're dead. Like literally, at least
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, like, oh, at least. And then, and I think
That's a good point.
I don't understand trying and not trying. Like, here's the thing,
Hmm.
Zab. Uh, I'm a parent, right? Like every day, I try to parent the very, very, very best I can. Every day, there's no like, today you could eat cookies for breakfast. It's like, no, we eat this. You know what I mean? Like, oh, today you don't have to brush your teeth. And no, like every
Right.
day, yeah,
Hmm.
like at work, like if you go to your job, try hard every day. It's just not that bad. In fact, I don't understand it when you. I don't understand people who don't try hard. I don't. I
Hmm.
don't. Why bother? Like, if you come to a comedy show and you don't try hard, go home. You're wasting my time. I'll take that 5 minutes. I'll take your 10 minutes if you don't want to try. No
Right.
problem. Gladly, I'll do yours. But
Hmm.
I don't know. Well, I don't get it, man. And you're right. I've seen it way too often. It's not even worth it for these people. Like, that's a cop out, and you quit.
Hmm.
You quit on these. I'm looking
No,
more like Robert.
I've seen
I'm
like a
looking
lot
more
of
like
people
Robert Beckham every
complain
day.
up there, right? They complain about there
Oh,
only being 5 people or something, and
don't
it's
ever complain to the audience, Sab.
yeah, you're complaining to the 5 people that showed up that
Mm-hmm.
there's only 5 people, so it's kind of like Yeah,
Yeah.
the people you're mad at aren't even there, and you're like yelling at them. Yeah, you know.
In fact, I'll say some things about like not necessarily about crowd work, but performing in general. Don't insult the like, and then this is from a guy who, yeah, you see me, I'm roasty, I'm insulty. I
Hmm.
don't insult the audience in that way, though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't go, oh God, you people suck. Like I've heard, and like
Hmm.
people, you mean that when you say, oh God, you people suck. You know, people get that. You know, like I might make fun of you, I might goof on you, I might make a joke, but I don't think you suck. I think you're great. You know, and like for example, I was at a show where a bunch of guys were at the back of the room, and there's nothing wrong with these guys. They were actually behaving really well. And the comedian, the headliner, goes, and all these losers at the back of the room who don't have a chance or something. I thought, like, what are you doing? Those are 10 guys now who just tuned you out. They're like, okay, whatever, I'm a loser. Like,
Yeah.
okay, sure, pal. Like, why on earth would you do it? I
Hmm.
don't understand. Like, treat the audience like gold. You know, like they're the best thing. Thank God they're there. Oh, look what we're without them, Sab. We're talking to each other on the phone with a
Yeah.
video. Look what we're doing. This is what we're reduced to. We're reduced to this. Anyway, but you know what I mean, eh? And you've seen it. You've seen it. You've heard it, guys.
Yeah. Hmm.
How about this? Blaming the audience when your joke doesn't work. That's one other favorite. Fuck you guys. You don't know what funny is.
Yeah.
Well, they did in the last 5 jokes they laughed at. I guess they. What were they? You know. How about have some humility? Go, yeah, that sucked. That's a stupid joke. You
Yeah.
know. No, has some charm. Anyway.
Yeah, I felt like I would say that's my favorite joke when a joke wouldn't work, and then people
Mm.
would laugh at that, right? But then I tried doing it a second time, being like, "Oh, that's my second favorite joke." After another joke bombs, and it's like, "Oh, it doesn't work that second time."
Unless you then do it after every joke. Hey, that's my third favorite joke. Hey, that was my fourth favorite. Then it works. You know what I mean? Like either
I
like
never got that far.
yeah,
Yeah.
like well, but that's one way of doing it, right? Is like
Yeah.
commit the other direction. Like okay, after every
Mm.
joke, I want to say it. Then like I had this idea, and I've done it once or twice. And I might have done it in St. Catharines at Showtime. You might have seen me do it, but I had this idea, and I think it's really funny because the phrase in comedy I hate the most is I'm gonna do this one last joke, then I'm gonna get out of here. Like I hate that so much. I hate it
Mhm.
like when the comedian, well, listen, I'm gonna do one last joke. Like just shut up.
It's
No,
so common. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so
I'm
so
sure
so
we
sad.
both said that. I'm sure we both
Oh,
said
of
it.
course. I'm sure every comic has, so don't worry
Yeah.
about it. But my joke there was I started every joke with, God, you guys have been a great crowd. I'm gonna do this one last joke, then I get out of here. And then I would do a joke. And then after that, I go, God, you guys have been a great crowd. I'm just do one last joke and I get out of here. And then I would do my last joke without saying it, then leave. Just put the mic away. Like,
That's
as if,
awesome.
as if,
Yeah.
and then the other way I've done it is I say at the beginning of my set. So I'm going to do this one last joke and get out of here, which I think is funny, right? Like, that's the first thing to
Yeah,
say. It's
that
sort
is
of like,
funny. And then
it's
it's
just
like
sort of,
it's a one last joke is like 5 minutes.
well,
But
it's my
yeah,
whole set, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
15 different jokes. But
That's actually
it's again
so funny.
mocking. It's kind of mocking the conventions of what we do. Because I mean,
Hmm.
and that's a big mistake I think comedians do is they say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this one last joke and get out of here." Well, guess what? If that
Hmm.
joke dies, good luck. Way to go. You just ended on a low note.
Oh
Like
yeah, you're
it's
committed. Otherwise, you're a
yeah.
liar. You can't do.
And then I've seen it. Well, I guess I'll do one more. As if like, well,
Yeah.
that one didn't work. And it's like, well, what made you think the next one's going to be any good, man? That was your best joke. You just saved it for last, and then it sucks.
And you might have got a better reaction if you didn't say, "I'm gonna do one last joke and then I'll get out of here." Because that's kind of like when people say that, it's like a little bit of a turn off, like subconsciously. It's like I don't know, you know what I
Or
mean?
it's saying to the audience, hey, here's my big closer, so this is going to be funny. I mean,
Right.
that's another thing. It's sort of telegraphing. Like audiences aren't stupid. They know you save your best joke for last,
Hmm.
allegedly, right? It's what you should be doing, right? So
Right.
when they think, oh well, this is going to be the big one, and it flops, then they're like, oh, okay. And then you painted yourself into a corner. I was like, oh, okay, good luck with all that. But
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
listen, Sab, I'm a big believer, and this I'm a big believer in this, and I'll say one thing. One of my favorite things about Showtime is they're not super sticky, and we're talking about Showtime Comedy Club in St. Catharines for those who
Yeah.
don't know. Is they're not super sticky about your time. Like they want you to do your time, but if you go a minute or two under or a minute two over, no one's freaking out too much. And especially if David Green, for example, is hosting, and because
Hmm.
what I believe in, and I believe in very often I'll see a comedian get a killer laugh, 18 minutes, like a killer laugh, 18 minutes into a 20-minute set. Killer. Look at their watch while the laugh is going on and say, oh no, I have 2 more minutes. Get off stage. You
Yeah.
killed. Like those other 2 minutes, the host will fill in 2 extra minutes. It's not that big a deal. But then the last 2 minutes are so shit, you forget. You know, it's like, just leave. Listen, do your time, basically. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if I'm killing my last joke and I get the light and it gets a huge laugh and I have 2 more minutes or whatever because I just got the light, hey, have a good night, everyone. Here, love your headliner. I'll see y'all later. Boom. No,
Yeah.
no, who cares? Like, what would you rather? What would you rather? I would rather the audience be happy and you leave on a high note than you go, well, I did my 20 minutes. Like, I'm not saying do 12 minutes. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if you're at 18 and you kill, or, you know, or you're at 19 and you kill, get off stage. You know, you're doing 45
No, it's so
minutes.
true. It's so true. It's like, I used to be a battle rapper, right?
Oh yeah,
And
you can tell.
yeah. And I forgot my stuff right when I only had a couple bars left. And then I kind of said like, oh, I can't remember my shit. And then I feel like I lost because of that, because it leaves them on a sour taste. Whereas if I would have just ended it on the line earlier, once I forgot my, because I only had 1 line left. And if I didn't say, oh, I forgot my stuff, right? It's like, to leave them on a strong note is like a more important than I think some people realize.
Oh, come on, man. I mean, it's the oldest thing in the book, right? Is, you know, leave on a high note or leave them wanting more, right? Like, oh my God, that didn't work. Hang on. I was in the dark here. How's that? Is that okay still?
That's good. Yeah, it's good. I think
Yeah,
mostly people just listen to these anyways, but the video's here if they want to watch.
I like the optimism that you think anyone cares. That's the optimism.
I know people do.
About.
I used to say people weren't going to listen, but I can look into the analytics. They usually watch.
Oh, that looks better. That
on average, people watch like a third, which I think means like a third of the people watch the whole thing, and then 2/3 of the people just click off after 10 seconds.
Yeah. I've done that. You know, where you're like, okay.
Yeah.
For a little bit, but all right. What was I gonna say? Oh, there's another thing about. I'll give you another thing I like to talk about hosting. And again, like when you have time, right? Like, oh, you know, like, okay, here's a couple things. I used to run a room in Richmond Hill, and I used to tell people, you do 10 minutes, you do 10 minutes, you do 15, right? And then the guy at 8 minutes would go, how much time do I have left? He'd look over at me.
Oh, I've seen that so many times. People always do that. They ask those, how much time do I have? Yeah. Oh my God, I've done that even.
Or they'll say something like, what else was I going to say? That's the other one, right?
Yeah.
So I have this rule as a host now. Ready?
Yeah.
These are my rules. If they say, how much time do I have? You go, that was it. That was your light. You give them the light.
Yeah. You're done now. Get off the fucking stage.
If you're asking, you're out of material. That's why you're asking. You're asking because you're like, I don't have anything. Why don't you just say, hey, that's it. Thanks. Good night. Put the mic off and get off. So the minute you ask, and then the minute you say, what was I going to say? Oh, I give you the light. Because, again, you're out of jokes. You're out of ideas. So what I started doing, and if you're in a room, I advise you or people watching who run like an open mic or a workout room, because Niagara doesn't have as many open mics as much as workouts, right? I mean, people are really trying to get better. It's not like Toronto where there's like an open mic where 700 guys show up and they all do 5 minutes about, you know, internet porn and how their stepsisters are hot. I don't know, whatever. Shaving their ball stories, which are always fascinating. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is I would like this. So if you came to my room or I booked you and you came to Richmond Hill to do my show, I would say, how much time do you want to do?
Oh, cool.
As opposed to saying, you're doing 10 minutes.
I like that. That's very cool, actually. That's a sick way of running it. And did you ever get someone that would do too much time? Like,
hold on.
Go over there?
If you said to me, Sab, I'd like to do 8 minutes, I'd go, great, do 8, right? But if I say to you, do 10, you're going to do the 8 you have and 2 minutes of filler. I don't want your 2 minutes of filler.
Who has 8 minutes, though, exactly? You know what I mean?
Well, their point is I have this is how much I feel comfortable with. That's what I want to do. But if I
I could see myself. 15, if right now, if I were to jump back in, and I think I could do like 10 minutes of good shit. Maybe
I could get more than that. But yeah, You could easily, you know,
I
but
do
that's
have
it.
more
But
than
I'd
that,
rather
but
you
that I'd
say,
be good. That would be like solid right now that
right,
I think I could remember and stuff
yeah.
without getting too much. Because I
Okay, but
haven't
if you're
done
on,
comedy in months, man. How weird is
okay, but no, that, but assuming that we're all fresh and ready to go,
that?
you know. But so, and yes, you asked, has anyone ever gone long? Yeah, there's two different ways that's happened. One is that's why I stopped telling people do 15 minutes, whatever. I say, how much time do I do? And believe me, buddy, I'd have guys do, I'd like to do 25. I'm like, you don't have 25. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, like, and I tell you to your face, I'd be polite about it. Like you. I mean, if you said I want to do a half hour, I'd be like, really? Well, I could be friendly about it. I'd be like, really, man? Because a half hour seems like a long time, you know? Because
I
when
could.
you've
I
done,
headlined Tabs March 4th. I just rememred. I did 20 minutes.
yeah,
And
okay,
I could
20
have
though.
done another 10, but yeah,
There you
maybe
go.
not.
No, but you know what I'm talking about, though. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, there's nothing worse, right, than someone who
Yeah.
has 5 minutes of material but thinks they have 25. You're like, no, no, no. So I would say, no, sorry, man. About
Mhm.
10. How's that sound? And really by 8 they were out of material.
And
Really,
not
by 8
everyone
they
can
were
be
like,
the
oh,
headliner. You can't give every person half an hour. That's crazy.
well, that's it too, right? But then, for example, when a guy who's experienced, a guy or girl come and they're really good, I don't. They came to Richmond Hill to do my show. I don't want to give you 7. Like
Mhm.
I'd say to like an Al Val or somebody, or hey, how much time do you want to do? Like, can I do 15? Yeah, sure, man. Usually he would come to middle, but guys who are pros who would come to do a spot or to work out. Well, I'm not going to give you 7. I'm going to give you what would you like? Like if I do 15, I'm trying to work on something. Sure, man. Go ahead. Like treating everybody the same is stupid, right? Like
Mhm.
not like not everyone has 10 minutes, and you know again,
Yeah,
I'll
and a
tell you
lot
this.
of these like really good guys drive from far away. They're not getting paid. Like I don't know if you were paying people, but for example, to do 5 minutes, right? Like I know like dudes that or whoever they've gone like 2 hours to do 5 minutes and they're killers, right?
Yeah, yeah, me too. And
Mhm.
that's what I've started doing now is I'll go to usually before I leave, I'll say, can I do a spot though? Yeah. And I go, how much time? They go 5 minutes. I go, listen, man, no offense. I don't really want to drive an hour for that. Like, and I'm a
Mhm.
pro. I'd like to do 15. Can I do 15? No, sorry, man. Okay, then I'm not going to come. No, no offense.
Yeah.
It's not personal, but it's true. I'm
Mhm.
not driving like you've seen me to Niagara. I drive from Richmond Hill, right? It's a long drive. I'm
Mhm.
not doing 7 minutes. I'm not doing it. I'm not coming that far for 7 minutes. It's not worth
It's not worth
anyone's
it.
time,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Mhm.
and so, but people now that I've been around too, like I can usually know the booker and say, hey man, can I come to your room tonight and do 15? And I'll ask that way. I'll say, I know you have an open mic tonight. Can I come do 15? And if they go, no, sorry, we're full, or I don't want anyone doing that much time. It's like, okay, like no skin off my nose, but I say before I leave the house now, hey, this is how much time I'd like to do, and can
Mhm.
I do it? And if they say yes, great. And if they say no, and I did one, like, this is why I don't go to Toronto, right? Like the reason I'm in Niagara Falls and St. Catharines is I get stage time, right? I can do 10, 15, 20, right? I go to
Mhm.
Toronto and they're like, everyone does 5. Like, okay, but like, I got a lot to say. Oh, it doesn't matter. We all do 5.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. I got a
okay,
lot.
like it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's no biggie. But like, and if that's what you want to do, like to me, like if you think of the idea, like, I know this whole Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours thing has been debunked, but I think somewhere in there you need hours and hours and hours and hours of experience to become an expert, right? However many hours that is. Well, if we're doing them 5 minutes at a time, it's going to take you a hell of a long time.
Mhm.
So I stopped measuring, like people count sets. Hey, I did
Mhm.
40 sets. I did 50 sets this month. Okay, you did 50 sets of 5 minutes each. Okay, so do the math. And in there was 20 audience members in those 50 sets. Like seriously, the
Mhm.
rest were your open mic buddies. So it's like I would rather do an hour's worth of comedy every week, in front of
Mhm.
50 people at least. Okay, so an hour and 50 people, these things add up to true experience. Like that's true growth. You can go, okay. Like, listen, I drive down to St. Catharines, as you know, all the time to do Showtime. It's because I get 40, 50, 60, 70 people on a Thursday night and I do 20 minutes. I can learn that is this joke working? Is this bit working? Is this
Mhm.
funny? How does this working? You can learn a lot from 20 minutes in front of 50 people.
Mhm.
Way more than you're going to learn after 5 minutes in front of nobody 50 times in a week, you know?
That's actually a really good point. I never really thought of it that way. I like that.
Yeah,
Um,
measured time, not
Mhm.
numbers, you know what I mean?
With your show, how would people get on that? Would people ask you, or would you like offer people?
Back in the day would depend. Like, headliners usually I reached out to them and
Mhm.
say, yo, hey, can you come and headline my room? And then middles just depended, you know, like if I knew you, it was easy, and you know, otherwise people just message me. And near the end of the show, like it ran for almost 6 years or 7 years, whatever. I stopped booking headliners. I started booking like 5 acts at 15 minutes kind of thing. And I was basically the headliner. Like I was host, I called it like a host liner kind of thing. Like,
Mhm.
you know, basically I'm host and headliner in the same breath in a way, right? Like, frontliner, I think that was the word I used. Like, it's kind of like headlining off the top, you know. So I would do
Um,
20 off the top, and then everyone else would do sets, you know.
when was the last show?
I can't remember, like the fall of 18 or something. So like 2 years ago now.
Hmm.
But it ran for 300 shows. It was good. It was a good room, and I got to meet a lot of people, and people come to see me, which was nice. Because then they talk about conversations. I usually, like I said in the beginning, it was two middles, a headliner, and me. So at most 4 or 5 comics. Well, you could sit and chat and have a good conversation, you know, and get to know people a bit, which was always nice, which I appreciate.
Why'd you stop?
The bar was privately owned, and they sold. And as soon as they sold, I went to the new owners and said, "Hey, you know, this has been running, and here's how much it is, and here's what we're doing. Do you want to keep going? Because now that you've taken over, I can imagine maybe you don't." And they said, "No, we really want you to." And but not next week. And I'd never been postponed ever. And I said okay. And then I ordered all sorts of promotional material, and I went in one day and I noticed all of my stuff was down, all of it. And they were like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, we got to talk to you. We're canceling the show." I was like, "Oh, thanks."
Oh, that sucks. You did like all the promotional stuff, damn.
Yeah. And we could have done one last show. How
Yeah.
about you just do one last one just to sell out the bar for one more night? Like,
Yeah.
couldn't have hurt you. Yeah, like we would have packed the
Yeah.
place. I was like, okay, like this kind of short-sighted
Uh,
thinking, though, you know. And you've seen it at certain venues, I'm sure, around your area, where the venue really supports you, and that's amazing. Or then they just go, "We don't care about you at all," and the
right.
new people just said, "We don't care about you at all," which is fine with me. But
Mhm.
it was frustrating in that sense. Like it was like, okay, like, would have been nice to say goodbye to, you know, because there was a real crowd that came. Like it was regulars, right? So it would have been nice to get the gang together for one last show, bring in one big headliner, and close it with a bang. But hey, can't
Mhm.
get everything we want, right? You
Y-
wanted a better guest today, and all you got was me. So that's okay, Dad.
You're
Like
fucking
that's what you're
awesome, man. I appreciate you. You're a great guest. This has been fucking great. Uh, is there anything you want to plug or if people were looking to follow you or book
No,
you for gigs or
no,
anything?
no, nothing. In fact, I don't want it. I don't want anything. I don't want any. I don't want to hear from anybody. I don't want your feedback on this. I don't want to hear how my chin looked. I don't want people to comment, "Hey, that guy's not funny." I don't want to hear any of it, frankly. I want to live a quiet, hermetic life in Richmond Hill until I can get back and get on stage with a microphone in my hand and people in front of me. So, no, man. Thanks, Sab. I appreciate it, but I did not. I mean, listen, because we're in a lockdown. There's nothing. What do I have to promote? You know what I mean? So,
Well, you got a YouTube channel, right? You do have one.
no, no,
No?
no, 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 no,
Get
no.
one. Make one.
Maybe,
Post some
maybe.
videos.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's funny. It is weird, isn't it, eh, Sab? I understand the weirdness of it. I get that.
Hmm.
That it's weird that I don't want to do that shit. You know. But hey, I am also, you know, I do have a plan in my head too, though. So
That,
there's a method to my madness, right?
that makes it mean so much more that you still did this podcast with nothing to promote, nothing to gain. Just did it because you love me. Makes
Yeah,
me.
yeah. You're still stinging from the intro, aren't you? You're still like, I'm not so stingy. I want to make sure I didn't get enough hugs as a child. It's okay. You'll get hugs, Sab, next time I see you, for sure, man. I'm glad I came
That's
by too.
good.
I'm glad we chatted today. It's
Yeah,
good to
that was
talk.
a perfect callback. Bring it full circle all the way back to the
Oh,
intro.
like a professional almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost like I know what I'm doing.
Oh my god. Yeah.
You're an idiot.
All right. Thanks, man. Love you, buddy.
Yeah, you too. Much love, bud. We'll talk soon. Stay safe and healthy, okay, bud?
You too, man.
All right, man.
Peace
Bye.
out. See ya.